Good evening. Today we are trying something new. Welcome to everybody on Insta Live and also welcome to everybody on Facebook Live. So we are doing two things at the same time today and hopefully it'll be done well. So today our topic is about emotional intelligence. So, I've been talking in this Tuesday conversations about how as we move from industrial economy to creative economy, the leadership style has to change. And one of the key ingredients of the new leadership skill we all need to pick is emotional intelligence. Now, what do I mean by that? That's what we'll spend the half an hour talking about. So before I start, I want to show you a short video, okay? So let's see. We're trying lots of new things today.
If we show emotion, we're called dramatic. If we dream of equal opportunity, we're delusional. When we're too good, there's something wrong with us. And if we get angry, we're hysterical or rational or just being crazy. But a woman running a marathon is crazy.
Officials tried to pull her off the course.
A woman boxing was crazy. A woman dunking, coaching an NBA team, landing the impossible, or winning 23 Grand Slams, having a baby, and then coming back for more. Crazy, 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 and crazy. So if they want to call you crazy, fine. Show them what crazy can do.
So, I just wanted to start with that ad because it's absolutely one of my most favorite ads. And emotions are like that. Emotional intelligence is like that. Because not too long ago, you were called crazy if you were emotional. It was a world in the industrial era where it's manufacturing, it's copy exactly, it's a very, very strict world where you were supposed to study and not ask any questions, learn something and do that for the rest of your life. And it was a leadership style that was very tops down. There is an expert at the top, there's a leader at the top that's supposed to guide everybody else. It's a very stoic, it's a very paternalistic way of taking care of an organization. Whereas in the creative economy, it's very, very different. So for the longest time, we've been talking about IQ, intelligent quotient, and you go to do tests, you learn things, etc., just so your IQ gets better. But today, the new term is EQ, which is emotional quotient. Now, let me tell you a few studies about emotional quotient. So there's international search from Egon Zander. They analyzed about 515 senior executives and discovered that those who were strongest in emotional intelligence were more likely to succeed than those strongest in either IQ or relevant technical experience. So that shows the importance of emotional intelligence. The Carnegie Institute of Technology carried out research that showed that 85% of our financial success was due to skills in human engineering, personality, and ability to communicate, negotiate, and lead. They found that only 15% was due to technical ability. Now, what this is saying is that when I say ability to negotiate, etc., it doesn't mean you have to be extroverted and you have to be an incredible orator or whatever. You should be able to communicate clearly and you should be able to negotiate. You should be able to have a very clarity of thought. So these are the things that are really, really important. Now, and this whole EQ, etc., started gaining momentum in probably the last decade. Nobel Prize winning Israeli-American psychologist Daniel Kahneman found that people would rather do business with the person they like and trust rather than someone they don't, even if that person is offering a better product at a lower price. So, I mean, think about how many times we go out to buy something. We go out to say yes to something. And we do it because we like the person we are dealing with, not necessarily because the price is right or, it looks good or whatever. Who we like. When our friends tell us, hey, buy this, we are more likely to buy. There are actually apps that they allow you to shop with your friends virtually. So your friends can tell you that, hey, this shirt looks good or this shirt doesn't look good. So we are really influenced by people we like, people we trust. So everything is not about a very, very logical decision. Now, you may think that all this is only for leaders, only for high-profile executives, etc. But the truth is, there are studies that show that even in low-level jobs, blue-collar jobs, emotional intelligence is very important. So a study by McClellan in 1999 showed that after supervisors in a manufacturing plant received training in emotional competence, such as how to listen better, lost time accidents decreased 50%, and grievances went down from 15 per year to 3. Just imagine what a radical improvement it is. And not only that, the plant itself exceeded productivity goals by $250,000. Okay, so this shows, all these studies, everything shows that emotional intelligence, emotional quotient is as important, if not more important, than a pure intelligence quotient. So that's something which has been proven by research, etc. Now, how does it show up in our real life? If you think about 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I remember when I started working, we were told that you should dress a certain way, you should act a certain way. You cannot be emotional at work. All your presentations have to be very, very data-driven. And I remember there was once in our company, we were talking about should we have showers at work, because people work long hours, they go for a run in the afternoon, and etc. And I remember our management saying that, look, you do this on your own time, We are here to serve shareholder value. And the same company, literally a year later or 2 years later, put showers in the office because the need was seen, and the management had to accept that it's not just shareholder value, it's the employee satisfaction was also equally important. Now, when you think of a company like Google when it started, what got Google more press than anything else was the fact that their cafeteria served free food. That was the one action they did that got them more PR. They couldn't have spent millions of dollars to get that kind of PR. Not just they did free food that was second rate or third rate. They had a fantastic chef who created amazing menus. And there were 3 different cafeterias where everything from international food to salads to all kinds of things were there. They just went all out and said that you can eat, you can invite your family, they can eat, you can invite your friends, they can eat. It's just carte blanche. Just have a great time. And that is the best investment they have done. They've actually set a precedent for that, across the Silicon Valley. So all these things show that it's kind of an attention to detail. And I remember at the early stages of Google, Susan Wojcicki was at Google. She used to work at Intel, she's a friend of mine, and she went to Google. And she was one of the first people who thought about, like, when a new employee comes, what would they want? How do we make Google a more welcoming place? I remember a conversation I had with her. She said, I thought of all the jobs I had. And when I went to a new place, what was most nervous for me, when you go to a new company, if you don't have a a place to sit right away. If you don't have your own computer, if you don't have your own space, it's very disturbing. So I remember her saying that when somebody comes here, we want to make sure everything is ready for them before we bring them in. All these little things matter, because that is paying attention to really small details. So now let's talk a little bit about what does this emotional intelligence mean. And the person that really brought attention to this, apart from Daniel Kahneman in terms of EQ, he went a little bit more in the economics EQ, whereas it was Daniel Coleman, who's a journalist and a writer, who wrote a book called Emotional Intelligence, Why It Can Matter More Than IQ. This was a seminal book in emotional intelligence. And the interesting thing is he's divided it into 4 parts. And then he said, what is it that is needed for emotional intelligence? What does emotional intelligence actually mean? Because it's easier said than done. So he talked about 4 different things. So emotional intelligence is number 1. It's self-awareness. I mean, it's about knowing one's own emotions and feelings. Knowing what makes us jealous, what makes us happy, what makes us sad. It's extremely important. And I always believed that knowing our strengths is as important as knowing our weaknesses. Knowing our strong points is as important as knowing our, Achilles heel. What are the things that really hold you back? This is extremely important. And the second thing is self-regulation. Okay, this is about controlling certain traits. We all have, it could be temper, it could be withdrawal, it could be, a sudden burst of action. There's all kinds of ways we react to things, and can we regulate that? So imagine if you are in a room that's getting colder and colder and colder, and it's absolutely cold, and it's absolutely hot. We need self-regulations. If the outside temperature is becoming hotter, inside should become a little cooler. If outside is becoming cooler, inside should become a little hotter. Like that, with ourselves also, we need to have a very regulation mechanism that, I remember when I was a kid, and I'm very short-tempered, I get mad very quickly, and my anger goes away very quickly also. I'm exactly like my dad. So my grandmother used to say, when you're really angry, just count to 10, you just want to say something, just stop and count to 10. It's easier said than done. Let me tell you, even that advice from the time I was a kid still hasn't worked all the time. I react quite a bit, but I keep trying. How do you regulate yourself? When you're really mad, how can you stop, think about it, and then say something? So there's an amazing, beautiful quote by Aristotle. And remember, he wrote this more than 2,000 years ago, in his classic work, The Art of Rhetoric. This is a quote by him, is that anybody can become angry. That's easy. But to be angry with the right person and to the right degree and at the right time and for the right purpose and in the right way, that's not within everybody's power. That is not easy. Now, why do people like a Gandhi or Nelson Mandela or Martin Luther King, why did they become, role models for so many people? If you just think about politics, they are all people who knew how to use their power, their capability in the right way. I mean, think about it. Being angry with the right person to the right degree and at the right time. All these things are very, very important for the right purpose. So they say that when Nelson Mandela finally came out of prison after being there for years and becomes the head of the country. And when he's having the party, he invites all the people who kept him prisoners. And people say, aren't you angry at them? Why did you invite them to inaugural? And he apparently said that it's because if I don't invite them, I continue to be their prisoner, So he had the clarity of thought to say that to be angry at this person now is of no use, but my anger has to be shown the right way for the right purpose. Similarly, Gandhi, when he's like when he's thrown out of the train, or when he was asked to leave, he just didn't take a stick and start hitting the guy who said something to him. He planned it. He came back to India. He has built a movement, and he said it's a non-violence movement. Think about it. Be angry with the right person. So he was angry with the British, not with any individuals, to the right degree. I mean, a lot. It's a huge degree to just say everybody stop cooperating at the right time, and also for the right purpose. Obviously, the purpose is independence, and the right way, which is non-violence. So all these people have used their anger, their upset, in a very, very methodical way to get to where they wanted to get to. So it's about self-awareness, it's about self-regulation, and the next thing is self-motivation. How do we motivate ourselves? The point is not someone else calling you every day and saying, you must do this, you must do this. How do we motivate ourselves? Some people motivate themselves by writing their dreams down. Some people motivate themselves by listening to great words. Whatever it is that motivates you, we need to do that. So, and also, it helps find the key questions. It's about internal drive. What makes me tick? What makes me do it the right way at the right time? And like some people love music, and when they're working or whatever, they want music because that's what motivates them to work. So whatever it is that motivates you, we must know about it. And finally, it's about social awareness. It's the awareness of things that are going on around you. That's very important. So the four things are: there's self-awareness, there is self-regulation, self-motivation, and social awareness. So I figured, since I'm an acronym person, think of it like ARMS. ARMS. A for awareness, regulation, motivation, social awareness. So arms. So that's what we need. These are the arms. These are the equipment. These are the arms we need to understand emotional intelligence. And there are, when you think of people, even in today's world, business leaders who are iconic, who have accomplished a lot, who have failed, but accomplished a lot, net. They are all people who are very emotional. They're very strong in emotional intelligence. So one such person is Sir Richard Branson, a world-famous entrepreneur, adventurer. He has Virgin Galactic that wants to take us into space, as Virgin Airlines. He had Virgin Records, and there's so many things. He's irreverent, he's fun, he's successful, and he launched a dozen billion-dollar businesses and hundreds of other companies. Now, the thing about him is that he's dyslexic and he's a dropout. Now, just imagine when you're 16 or 15 or 14 or 12, you're dyslexic. You can't read things properly. You can't write things properly. You're a dropout. You're obviously not doing very well. It's extremely easy to think of yourself as a failure. But he's been incredibly successful and has been very open with his dyslexia. And he advocates better support for young people to understand dyslexia as different and brilliant way of thinking. That's why he thinks about it, that it's a different and brilliant way of thinking. He's a big supporter of Made by Dyslexia, a charity dedicated to removing the stigma around it, etc. Now, he did something extremely interesting, is that just recently he published a letter to his younger dyslexic self on his blog. Okay, and this is what it says. So now he's writing to himself when he was 14 years old, and this is what it says. Dear Ricky, I know you're struggling at school, and I wanted to give you some advice on how to become the best you can be. Even when it is difficult and you feel like the world is against you. I know you have problems with reading, writing, and spelling, and sometimes find it tricky to keep up in class. This does not mean you're lazy or dumb. You just think in a more creative way and struggle to find the relevance in school. Just make sure you turn your frustration with education into something positive. Find things that interest you and pursue them doggedly. This passion is what will keep you going when things get tough. And life is always full of challenges. Your alternative ways of thinking will help you see these challenges as opportunities. Now, this is a letter he has written to himself when he was a teenager, when he was a dropout, when he was dyslexic. And now, I think about, there are so many things when you look back, at that time they seemed so important. If you did not get that rank, if you did not get that job, if you did not crack that exam, it just felt like life is not worth living and nothing mattered. But you think about it, literally a year later, a few months later, definitely a few years later, it seems completely irrelevant. It just does not matter. So, and the thing about this letter, he's exhibited every characteristic of an emotional intelligence. So his post taps into all components. He's self-aware. He knows he has dyslexia. He's admitting publicly he has dyslexia. It's been a weakness, it has been, and it has been his strength. He writes about coping with the condition outside of his control. He shows that dyslexia was a motivation for his success. He is aware. He has regulated himself. He has motivated himself to get out there and do something, especially because he was dyslexic. He displays empathy for young people who also have condition. And he puts his point across. His sincere letter to himself, and you could say other dyslexics, in a caring and meaningful way. So there's a lot of social awareness. Now that is what makes someone lovable to you. There's so many people who love Sir Richard Branson, feel as though he's family or he's one of the people they know or they would love to meet. And it's that ability to be emotional is what makes him likable. So I want to wrap up by first talking about, Daniel Goleman's things of arms. Self-aware, self-regulate, self-motivate, ARM, and social awareness. So I want to share with you my own experience with how I have benefited from someone else's emotional intelligence. So when I started my career, I started it in finance. Part of it was, I needed a green card, I needed a job, and the first job I got was in finance, and I just did finance. But it was not my love, and my Bajaj Institute friends will tell you that in the second term, in the entire, all the 4 terms in Bajaj, the only subject I flunked was finance. And I still remember thanks to my friends Vijay Sheth and Charmaine, who stayed with me till late night and taught me finance, and just so I could just scrape through that class. So now here I am working in finance. And but I'm a very competitive person. I'm a real type A person. So to me, it's that if I put my mind to it, I should be able to do it. And when I went into my job, the first thing I got was cost accounting. Now, our company had factories in many countries. So when you're doing costing of the product, all the numbers come from all these different countries, different, currencies and different transfer prices. You have to deal with so much of, cost accounting that it is just your head goes for a spin. And we're talking, millions of dollars from each factory that's coming, and you have to bring it all to one shape. And so I was working on it. It was very, very, very scary. And then they rotate you through different jobs in finance. So I first had a boss, and a few months after I went, the whole organization changed, and a new boss and a new boss. Finally, I was in a third boss in my third year of being in finance. So now I'm doing expense, headcount and expenses and all that. So, I did cost, and now I'm doing expenses, and I'm doing my best to do a good job with it. But I'm obviously not doing very well, and it was very depressing. So then comes the annual time for performance review, and my performance review was terrible. And I'm someone who's used to being teacher's pet, who's used to doing well. My first taste of failure was in IIT, and now at this company. And I was very upset about it. So my boss was Nick Dederer, and he told me that he said, Lakshmi, you shouldn't feel bad because you've done as much marketing in finance as you could. Because I was like the most popular finance person. Because I just went and made friends with all the managers, and I would be really good friends with them, and I would tell them how to do their numbers and all these kinds of stuff. So he said, you've done enough marketing in finance, and now you should think of going into marketing. But I was like, how can I leave this job when I'm not doing well? Why am I not able to be good at this? I'm putting in the hours. I come at 6:30 in the morning. I go home at 10 o'clock at night. I'm checking all the numbers over and over again. I'm doing everything I can. Why am I not the best in finance? And he said, it's just because you don't love it. And when you don't love what you're doing, you can never excel at it. So he said, don't fight it. Yes, you're not doing well here, but it's not a big deal. Just move into marketing. And so he helped me find a job in marketing, and I moved into marketing. And that's what led me to come to California and take part in some of the most amazing marketing campaigns Intel has ever produced, and changed my life. I mean, I went from somebody who's on a downward trend to someone who really started growing up and doing extremely well in the company. But that one incident of someone focusing on me as a person and saying that you must be good, it's just that this is not the right job. The mistake we do is that we say, I'm not good at it, but I'm going to be really good at it. The key is focus on what you're good at and hire the rest of the things. And that's what he told me. He says, Lakshmi, if you're worried about mastering finance, hire a good finance person, and you can still do what you want to do. So don't force yourself to do what you're not good at doing. So that's what changed my life and gave me everything that I had. So it is my belief that we are all good. If you're not good at what you're doing, it's just not the right job. We just need to find the right thing. And once you get there, remember Richard Branson's words, pick what you want and work at it doggedly. And then we have to work like crazy to be successful. So I want to wrap up by saying that it's all about emotional intelligence. People may call you crazy. People may say, why are you so emotional, etc., etc., etc. Does not matter. What matters is emotional intelligence, being self-aware, self-motivated, self-regulated, and social awareness. Check out Daniel Coleman, check out Daniel Kahneman, check out yourself into really, really creating a great example of emotional intelligence. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.